I remember this guy, great ball player. What's his name? Harry, something like that, right?
Harvey. You know that.
I know I never liked him.
Why not?
Because he's the only person I knew cockier than you.
It's funny. That's exactly why I liked him.
I'm just waiting for Harvey to come into this show, man. The crossover we've been waiting for. What's up, everybody? Julian Sarafian here, California lawyer, here to watch some Suits LA with you and tell you, is this show accurate? What do we got going on here? Let's watch.
So you and Simon went to your movie's premiere. Everyone had a good time.
Yeah, had a great time. And, go back to the house, did ecstasy.
How many pills?
We each took one. Wasn't working fast enough, but we didn't think it was working at all, so split a third pill.
Then the guns came out.
Yep. Simon took the Luger, I took the Glock. We set up the target.
A picture of the head of the studio.
Hey, you know the man, he's a bastard.
Not in dispute.
We start shooting. That's when Simon starts getting a little weird.
Weird how?
He starts saying he's a fraud. No one really knows him. I start to realize I'm watching a man battle with himself for his own sanity. He starts getting darker and darker, saying he doesn't deserve to be here. That's what he said. I don't deserve to be here. That's when it happened. He raises the gun to his head. I try to stop him, but he snaps at me. He is fully crazy at this point, and I grab his arm, but Simon's like 1,000 times stronger than me, and the gun is now aimed right at his head, and I'm screaming at him, please, Simon, don't do it, Simon. And next thing I know, bang, Simon is dead.
So Lester is Ted's client in a alleged murder case. This is high stakes stuff. He's explaining right now to Ted that when the murder happened, here are the facts, here's what I remember, and here's all the details. And this is the first step that lawyers will always take with their clients, is collecting the facts. It's getting as much information as possible that's pertinent to the case. And of course, depending on the type of lawyer and the type of case that you're dealing with, you're going to ask certain types of questions and dive deeper on some areas rather than others. A lot of people don't know this, but even during that period where a client or a prospective client of an attorney is just talking to the lawyer and there's no paperwork that's been signed, as long as it's been clear that that discussion is for the purpose of understanding what legal options the client has, that is protected under attorney-client privilege. And you don't actually need to sign anything for that to be the case. Attorneys are bound to keep all of that information confidential. Now, in this scene, we're seeing that it's a very open-ended and friendly approach that Ted is taking with his client, kind of just letting him talk and stream of consciousness what happened. But as this case develops in the criminal trial, what is most likely going to happen is Ted and his team are going to grill Lester on every single fact. They're going to pretend to be the prosecutor and cross-examine him. They're going to try to get him to contradict himself. They're going to try to get him to boil over emotionally and make a mistake. They're going to prepare him by putting him through the ringer of all of that intensity so that when the time actually comes for the trial, which is in some parts a performance for the defendant, he will be ready and he won't screw it up.
I'm who they send when they have no chance, but they need a win anyway.
Lester Thompson needs a win, all right. But this plea deal, it's the closest he's gonna get.
That's where we're gonna start.
Why not? It's where we're gonna finish.
Then maybe you didn't hear, but Lester pled not guilty at his arraignment.
Well, he should have pled insanity, because I heard he dropped one of the premier defense attorneys in the nation to put his life in the hands of a glorified black shirt, no tie talent agent.
You forgot former federal prosecutor, and I never did work at the local level, but unless whatever that is says you're dropping the charges, see you in court.
Okay, but you should know I'm not 3 hours into this thing, and I've got the victim's blood all over your client. Coroner's report inconsistent with suicide and a line around the block of people begging to testify that Lester Thompson's love language is lying. So you might want to run this bad boy by your client, just in case.
So what that prosecutor is offering Ted and his client Lester is a plea deal. And a plea deal, these things are like the secret underbelly of the criminal justice system that most people, in my mind, don't really know exist, and yet they are in some ways the most influential part of the criminal justice legal system. All the plea deal is basically a settlement. So the prosecutor is saying, hey, go to jail for 5 or 10 years, except you did it, and that's all you'll have to do. You won't have to go life in prison without a possibility of parole. You don't have to actually fight the criminal trial with a lawyer and pay the attorney, etc. Just take the deal, go to jail for a little bit, we'll call it even. And the reality of plea bargaining and plea deals is most cases that are actually settled in the criminal justice system are done through plea bargains. They're not done at a full-blown trial. They're not done when one party has a lawyer that really fights for them. I don't think it's any surprise that many people can't afford the high-profile Teds of the world with the fancy suits and the $1,500 billable hour rates. And so oftentimes when these folks are offered a deal where, hey, you only need to go to jail for 3 months or 6 months, and then after that you'll get out. But if you don't take this deal, the prosecutor says, well, I'm going to come after you for the whole thing, the whole felony charge, and maybe that'll be 10 years you're looking at, 20 years. And so a lot of these people, especially when they have kids at home, they're thinking, well, if I can just go in for a few months and then get out, then I'll be all right. But the dirty little secret is once you accept the plea bargain, oftentimes you now have a criminal record, and the criminal record will follow you wherever you go. The criminal record will make it harder for you to get a job. The criminal record will disqualify you from certain government benefits. The criminal record in some states will disqualify you from voting in elections, even if you're an American citizen, born here, raised here, and all that. So I think this scene is standard practice in some respects. You know, prosecutors will typically offer a plea bargain unless the case is like super important to that prosecutor's career or they really want to get it off their hands for some reason. But we can also probably expect that since Lester has Ted on his side, he's going to fight this thing to the death. One last thing. In the scene, Ted actually said, I'm not even looking at that plea bargain. It's rejected. Attorneys do have an ethical duty to bring any settlement or any offers by the opposing side to their client. Even if the lawyer will immediately say, we're not taking this. This is a horrible deal. I do this all the time, by the way. I know the deal is going to get rejected, but I still have a duty to bring to the client. And so he is bound by that duty and he will have to provide it to Lester, even if Lester will eventually, of course, say, no, I'm not doing that deal.
The deal was 6 months. Entertainment is Samantha's purview, not mine.
And I made a deal with you, not her.
I don't like this any more than you. It doesn't make either of us look good. But I have a way that you can still get that title. Bring in a big client and the job is yours.
Oh, that's a great idea, Stuart. But the only way I can do that is with someone I already have a relationship with, which means poaching from Ted, and we are precluded from doing that.
Do it anyway. They're not going to sue us over one client.
I don't work that way.
If the shoe were on the other foot, Ted would poach, and you know it.
I don't care. I'm not Ted.
I've got my issues with the way Ted operates more than anyone, but if you want that promotion, this is the way to get it.
This is vintage Big Law, man. If you want to get promoted, if you want the power in the firm, if you want to be the head honcho, you got to bring in the money. You got to bring in the big clients. It is always the Rainmakers. That's what they're called traditionally, the partners that bring in a lot of the revenue. It's those folks that have the most authority. You could be the most talented lawyer in a special area of law that only you can do. And I would wager at most firms, the Rainmaker is still more important than you and still is going to outvote you because they're bringing in all that revenue that feeds the rest of the firm.
Come on now.
This is not what we discussed. No, on what basis are you... Okay, fine, yeah, I understand your position. Leah, what did you do?
About what?
The Dylan Pryor agreement.
I sent over the amendment like you asked.
Well, they're not letting Dylan out. Why would they suddenly do that?
All I did was specify the end date of the indie and the start date of the Warner movie so that they couldn't wiggle out, like you said.
I told you to put the date of the Warner overall deal. You told them she already had an actual role.
They already knew it. It's public
The
knowledge.
deal was public knowledge. That she had a specific movie was not.
I'm sorry, I was just being thorough.
Never give the other side more information than they need. You might as well have said if Warner Brothers wants to start their movie on time, they either recast Dylan or pay that clown a small fortune.
I get it, but this is Dylan's friend. She agreed to be accommodating.
Okay, for future reference, the writer is never the one calling the shots. The guy with the money is.
So in this scene, Erica is negotiating an amendment for Victoria Justice's character. I know she has a name, Dylan, but I'm just going to call her Victoria Justice. For her character to work on a different film. And it looks like the mid-level associate, Leia, really screwed it up here. Frankly, I'm pretty surprised that for such a big, high-touch client that's very important, they've made her out to be very important in the show, that the senior associate, or partner, I should say, Erica, didn't review Leia's work before it went out to the opposing party. Because junior associates, mid-level associates, of course they have some latitude to deal directly with opposing counsel and the clients without the review from higher-ups, but most often, for law firms, you do have at least one layer of review before something goes out to the client or to the opposing party, and especially for high-touch clients, you're gonna have, at minimum, one person review it. So I think it's a little unrealistic that Erica didn't review Leia's work before it went out, but she certainly learned a lesson, and hopefully in the future she'll be reviewing Leia's stuff. Also, what Erica said about not giving the other side unnecessary information in a deal, that is spot on when it comes to deal making and transactional law.
Let's go.
You never want to include unnecessary anything, legal language or factual language or any of it, mainly because when you create spaces of ambiguity like that, number one, you don't know when it's going to screw up the politics of the deal like it did in the show, but also you don't know that down the line that information can't somehow be twisted and used against you in litigation. The point is to make the agreements as simple and as cogent and as to the point as possible. That means taking out anything unnecessary, so I completely agree with Erica's philosophy there.
Trouble in paradise?
Leah,
I'm not here. Never was. Hi, Rick. We hate you.
what are you doing here, Rick? Because I'm a little busy and you're a little don't work here anymore.
You know who wishes I still worked here? Dylan Pryor.
Excuse me?
She called me earlier. Wanted to see if I could handle her movie conflict instead of you. I told her I was prohibited from signing her.
Which you are.
And that you're an excellent attorney.
Which I am.
But then she wanted me to get Ted to handle it instead of you. And I thought, why get her Ted when I could just give her me? So
If you wouldn't mind signing this simple waiver allowing me to represent Dylan.
You think I'm going to give you the right to poach my client like I was born yesterday?
I think I can fix her problem and you can't.
Well, we're never going to find out because I'm not getting drawn into a contest with you that I've already won.
I thought I was talking to the Erica Rollins who always said she's better than me. I didn't realize I was talking to the one who's afraid of me.
You think saying I'm afraid of you is going to get you what you want?
You know what I think? You've been dying to go one-on-one with me for a long time. So let's get it on.
Give me the damn thing. But Ricky, when you lose, I don't want you coming back here crying about how I kicked your ass.
So if you saw the first episode of the show, then you know that Rick, the male lawyer in that scene, is now at a competing law firm. And in the last episode, it looked like the competing law firm did something illegal almost and poached a bunch of the attorneys and clients from Ted's law firm. Now it seems like there's been some sort of agreement, like a truce, where Rick's law firm will no longer try to steal any clients from Ted's law firm. And I say this because in this scene, Rick is asking Erica to sign a waiver, basically saying, hey, can you allow your client, Victoria Justice, to work with me as well as you? And the reality is you don't need that type of waiver for a client to work with somebody else. The client is the one that has all the power. The client is the one that can say at any time, you know what, Julian, I don't want to work with you anymore. I want to work with person over there. Or person over there, I don't want to work with you anymore. I want to work with Julian. Or you know what, hey, I want to work with both of you. I'm going to have both of you retained. You don't really need to have a waiver signed. So that's telling me that there is some sort of agreement here, like a truce, that was made that requires consent from the lawyers themselves before the client can work with the lawyer from the other firm. Also, I don't know why she just did that. Why would she allow the other lawyer to work on her client's case?
What?
In the best case scenario, that other lawyer fails, I guess, and she's back where she started. But in the worst case scenario, Rick is going to succeed. And then Victoria Justice is going to say, well, actually, I like working with Rick now. So Erica, you're fired. I'm going with him. And I can't imagine Ted's going to be happy about this, because giving an opportunity to the opposition like that, why would you do that in business if you don't have to? She didn't have to do that. I guess she was baited.
I don't have much time. So
Sure don't. You managed to threaten Dylan Pryor's career and hold Warner Brothers hostage all in one day.
I thought Erica Rollins was handling Dylan.
She thinks she is. But I'm here to tell you, you're gonna release Dylan after 4 months.
Why would I do that when I need her for 6?
Because you made a promise to Dylan, and I'm not afraid to sue you to enforce that promise.
You'll lose that lawsuit.
Maybe I will. But the headline will read, you deal in bad faith. How many movies are gonna get made after that?
You're accusing me of dealing in bad faith?
You are the definition of bad faith. There is no justification to hold Dylan for 6 months to shoot 5 scenes.
Oh, you haven't heard. Since you brought me something to read, I have something for you. You see, we had Tina do a final pass on the script, and it ended up pushing Dylan's scene count from 5 to 40. Makes it a much better movie, if you ask me, but I'm just a money guy.
So I hate to admit this, but the way that he just threatened the guy with a lawsuit and said, if you don't do what I'm asking, we're going to sue you, that is a real part of the legal world. Threatening lawsuits is part and parcel to being an attorney, to negotiate for deals on behalf of your clients, to fight for their rights. It's almost weird not to have a threat of a lawsuit when you're in an adversarial position with the counterparty, because it can really move the other party into giving you whatever it is that you want. I don't like it because I think it's just needless, and litigation, I always say this, guys, the only people that win in lawsuits are lawyers. It's not the actual parties. Parties are always going to be better off working out a deal with each other. Now, in this scene, the producer pulled a fast one on Rick and basically told him, hey, actually, you know how we only needed Victoria Justice for a few days? Actually, we need her for like months now because we rewrote the whole script. So there's like a billion other scenes that she's in. I find it a little weird and unlikely that he'd be able to get away with that, because in the underlying talent agreement that she probably signed and executed, it was most likely made clear what level of involvement she would have. You know, how many minutes of filming, how many scenes, the extent her character shows up in the film. These are things that are typically fleshed out in great detail to prevent this type of thing from happening, where, hey, Victoria Justice, we're going to get you in the film at $1 million for 5 minutes of footage, and then they turn around later and they're like, actually, we need you for 50 minutes of footage, but we're only going to pay you $1 million. Obviously, that's a bad deal for her. And so I would find it very unlikely that this guy would be able to pull a fast one like that and suddenly like multiply her workload.
Say we don't get you on the bomb. We're gonna get you on the bomb. Say that we don't. Billy Esposito says that you're Pellegrini's go-to hitman. He has direct knowledge of you killing 5 guys. That's life.
Anything you had went away when Billy went away. You can't use it. Ain't that right?
100%. One problem. Billy is right over there.
No way. I saw that explosion. Billy's dead.
That a fact?
He's pulling something. What kind of stunt is this, dude?
Jimmy Patriel, that scumbag. Let me in there. I'll show him how dead I am.
Relax, Billy. I'm not gonna let you kill a witness. Besides, you're busted up head to toe.
Let me in there for 10 minutes. We'll see who comes out.
Just tell us what hits you did together and he'll get what's coming to him.
All right, the first hit I remember was August 98. It was hot as hell. He comes down in a sweatshirt. I tell him he might as well have a sign. I got a gun under here.
Here's the deal, Jimmy.
I arrested you right in front of Pellegrini.
He's gonna think that you talk. Whether you do, whether you don't, makes you a dead man.
Or I put you in federal protective custody.
Jimmy, don't say another word. I can get you out of here.
What happens when you get out of here? Because do not think for 1 second that he is here for you.
Get the hell out of here.
Jimmy, think about what
Now!
Wow. So in this scene, Ted is using a 20-point plan and elaborate plot to fake a witness's voice, the witness who's actually dead. He hired a voice actor to fake that witness's voice to induce this other guy to become an informant. And as epic and baller as that was, and as cool as that was, what Ted just did violates a whole bunch of attorney ethical rules. Mainly the ones relating to not lying about material facts, not lying about the availability of a witness, not misleading the potential witness or target of the investigation, the defendant. And if it comes to light, what he's doing here, ever in any of the cases involving this guy who's on the other side of the table, if it comes to light that he lied about this stuff, it's very likely that the outcome and the agreement that Ted made with this guy will be completely null and void. And on top of that, Ted could probably lose his license. I think we're noticing a trend in these shows, by the way. These lawyers really love to skirt the line or just outright violate them for the sake of trickery and winning their cases. And they never really seem to get found out.
How?
All right, gang, what did you think of Suits LA? Let me know in the comments. As always, if you have any corrections, please drop them in the comments. I never pretend to know everything. I'm only human. If you haven't subscribed and you're watching, please smash that sub button. Remember, if your goal is to get into law school, we got a free mentorship Discord. The link is down below. We also have a guide that I made with all the tips and tricks that I used to get into Harvard Law School. That link is down there. Take care, guys. Until next time, much love. Appreciate you.